Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Raven Reacts. Now, I've been doing these a lot more often in the sense that I have just found things that I enjoy that I just want to turn into a regular video. Just a regular, just plain video. I don't do these often enough anymore. And I just came off of another episode that I just recorded before this. And I'm going to be recording another episode right after this. Not of this kind of thing, but I'm really starting to crank out the videos now, guys. I'm off of 4 energy drinks and I am crashing probably very, very soon. So we're going to get through this little energy bump and we're going to make it productive. So I bring you somebody that has come up on my radar by the name of Senza. Now, this man,
The world of
this
Cyberpunk
handsome Squidward motherfucker has quickly become a fan favorite of my own. Uh, Mostly because of how he explains things and how he plays one of my favorite of all time games, Cyberpunk. Now, this has not been a very popular series on my channel for whatever reason. Not a lot of people like Cyberpunk, I guess. But that's not the point. The point is, this guy does some funny shit in Cyberpunk, and he does it purely for the love of the game. And I love watching him do this. So I want to introduce him to your eye holes as well. So we're going to go ahead and get through this and see what he has in store for us today. Because he is going to beat Cyberpunk with only a knife. Um, I don't think there is a way to legitimately do it with only a knife, as there are some sections that forces you to use a gun. But this is an idea that I have actually floated around a little bit to you guys about me doing challenge runs, but I have neither the time nor the inclination to do these right now because, oh boy, will I ever. I'm doing a test run with knives only in my spare time. My thing is, I use only bladed weapons. And the only ranged thing I can do is either quick hacks or throwing knives. And I just took down the what was the motherfucker called? The giant robot at the start of Phantom Liberty. I forgot what it was called. But yeah, I took that thing out with throwing knives and tomahawk and quick hacks. God, it took me 45 fucking minutes and only one try, and I'm playing on hard. So I'm doing a hard challenge on a hard difficulty. So, oh God, man, I feel his pain already.
2077 is merciless, and the universal language spoken in it is violence. Law enforcement fight crime with war crimes. Fortnite is no longer a game, but an ideology, and children have been—
Oh my God. I never have I wanted to, more than today, never have I wanted to see Keanu Reeves do the take the L dance.
tasked to deal with domestic terrorism themselves.
And I never want to see it
Here
again,
in
by
this
the way.
lawless wasteland, your survival depends on not only your arsenal, but your ability to withstand advanced levels of brain rot without the abuse of alcohol or prescribed medication. Today, we are
I hate seeing people do the floss now.
going to use one of the lowest stat weapons on the hardest difficulty in the game to conquer this ruthless city and create our very own isekai. That time, I got reincarnated as an English citizen and used a knife to climb the corporate ladder to take down a billion-dollar corporation. Can you beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only a knife? The year is 2077, and our story takes place in—
Technically, yes, you can. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna go get my cup thing. But yeah, realistically, yes, you can. You can beat this game with only a knife. Should you? Maybe not. I mean, it's definitely not good for your sanity, but you could. You definitely could.
the Democratic Republic of Chicago, also known as Night City. Out here in this bustling city, the Geneva Convention can't hear you scream. It had lethal weeaboos, slimy corpo scum, and worst of all, erotic cosplayers that have replaced their hearts with f***ing V8 engines. But this is the exact Thunderdome our protagonist was made for. We play as Goro Majima, aka Flat Nun, the unhinged and unmedicated Japanese anti-hero from the hit testosterone-fueled soap opera Yakuza. One of the manliest games of all time that is so manly it comes off as homoerotic. You have surely seen him at one point in your gaming careers, and it was only fitting that we made our character look like him, as his weapon is a Tanto. For my Yakuza autists out there, this video also doubles as a Can You Beat Cyberpunk as Majima run. Fortunately, there are apparently a lot of you, because Majima's exact outfit, even down to the hairstyle, is available via a mod on PC.
Why, though? As Majima, why? I mean, I guess it makes sense. Why not? You know what? It's Cyberpunk. Why not? Why not?
After getting them all installed and situated, there was one final step that was imperative to this challenge run. To become Majima and Mad Dog style all over this city and my enemies, we had to make sure our anterior dimensions were at the largest they could possibly be. With the most important step completed, I picked the hardest difficulty and chose the Street Kid intro, beginning our journey as the soon-to-be neurodivergent king that would rule these lands. The Street Kid lifestyle significantly raised our risk of becoming addicted to fentanyl and a cyberpsycho, both of which are a fate worse than death. So I attempted to steal a car, and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for this meddling kid and his competitive offer that was instead to experience the undelightful experience known as cranium ventilation via a f***ing bullet. As much of a shitter this guy was, it's kind of hard not to admire the fact that he too wanted out of these streets. Through our trials and tribulations, we became the best of friends and started to make a name for ourselves. And
what the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god, there's so much information flying at me at such a fast pace, and it has just that right amount of, hook, so my ADHD doesn't do that thing where I get disinterested in everything that I'm watching. There's excuse me. There are very few videos that do that for me, and this is one of them.
This godforsaken city. Eventually, we were commissioned by the CEO of the Burger King Corporation, Black Queso, to save their client, Sandra Dorset. This was sure to be a job like any other, or at least, so I thought. During my starting gear only run, I discovered that you can craft a common rarity knife. My natural Pavlovian response to seeing its low damage and common rarity was a curiosity erection that could only be satisfied by a tad bit of masochism. That was until I found out that we had no craft.
That or complete retardation. I mean, both of these things would work in this situation. You really only need one of the two. If you have both, that's great, because you probably will not care what you're about to do, and it being the stupidest thing that you could ever do. Because I didn't even use the weakest knives. I only said I had to use bladed weapons. I didn't say what level they had to be. I didn't say what rarity they needed to be. This crazy motherfucker's doing them on a basic rarity. I mean, true, that's all he can make right now.
Crafting material to craft the bad boy. Operation, my dad unplugged my Xbox while I was playing, so I unplugged his CPAP while he was sleeping, was now a go. Before we dive into how this run is possible.
Hey, it just be like that sometimes. Sometimes, Pop's gotta learn. Get skinnier, get good.
Let's first tackle the rules. So sit back, grab an ice cold glass of Tang, and enjoy the lecture as class is in session. Rule 1. Any murderable enemy can only be murdered by me using a common rarity knife. The method didn't matter, whether it was thrown or thrusted. This excludes.
I favor using. Jesus, that fucking emoji. Now, I prefer to use the throwing variant. I find myself throwing the knife much more than I find myself going up and stabbing. It is so satisfying when you hear that knife blade sound effect when you pierce their cranium. It's so satisfying. And I go for the headshots every single time. Like, do I always hit them? No, no. More often than not, though, I have like an 85% hit rate on their heads when I'm throwing the knife. Within a reasonable range, because also I hit them with my quick hacks. So I make it a little bit easier on myself by letting myself kill with quick hacks if I need to. Because I'll just take out an entire place, because I'm also going for like I I feel like as long as I don't murder them with a gun, I'm good. So I go with in-person quick hacks and knife throwing. I do have a sword, but I don't use it very often. But I do have the mantis blades. Those I do use quite a bit. Those are fun, especially if I'm going in for a finishing blow.
The method didn't matter, whether it was thrown or thrusted. This excludes any story missions, of course, where I am forced to use a different weapon. Rule 2. Hacks, implants, and grenades aren't allowed. We needed to keep things as lore accurate to Majima as possible, so I will be rocking this armor for the entirety of the run.
Okay, I just remembered in my knife only thing, I haven't upgraded my armor at all, which probably explains why I've been sucking so much hard ass. And it was at that point that I realized that I haven't upgraded my armor at all. I just remembered that. No wonder I've been dying so easily. Well, I haven't been really dying all that much, but I have lost a considerable amount of health with the latest fight. And I just realized why. So I gotta fix that immediately. But we're not talking about that right now. And we're not even talking about my actual run where I'm going to become a net running god, which I still need to do, which I still need to have some armor for. But anyway.
The rules laid out, it was time to topple our first obstacle. How the fuck do we craft a knife this early in the game without any material? Well,
that's a good question.
I have 9 words for you. Cock and ball torture. At first, I can...
That's not 9 words. 9 words. Cock and ball torture. Yeah, I'm going to start using that now to explain some of the things that's going to be happening to me in the very near or not so near future, where I'm going to be revisiting some shit. Cock and ball torture.
Well, I have 9 words for you. Cock and ball torture. At first, I considered the sanity-taxing free alternative that was excluding the beginning of this run and using the starting pistol to fold my enemies like the wrinkles on the back of the rock's head. That was until I found out there was material scattered around this first level, and Jackie didn't fire blanks. These discoveries made my tip tingle with excitement, but I wasn't ready for the diabolical swamp ass that would soon follow this stinky undies of a situation. I alerted...
Oh, that is such the combination of words to use, and it is breathtakingly accurate. Like, okay, I'm playing on hard difficulty, and that's already hard enough without me also using arguably the worst weapon set to use for any kind of run, and that's one without any guns. 90% to 95% of your enemies are all going to have guns. Guns and a fucking kill you attitude. But that's not even half the... They're so powerful, and some of them fire fucking sniper rifles, which take down almost all of your health, in my experience. Mind you, I haven't upgraded my armor. But, yeah, no, this is hell.
The first group of enemies and sat back, expecting Jackie to start blasting. This is where I quickly realized that Jackie's AI had the IQ equivalent to that of a Destiny 2 Titan player. Not only did he have the aim of a stormtrooper, but also had an ant's dick of health on very hard difficulty. Being in close proximity to more than one enemy rendered him a paraplegic and completely useless.
I've fallen.
Luckily, it became apparent to us that Jackie had infinite Phoenix Downs and was able to revive himself. With this knowledge, my next plan was to just survive, find a hiding spot, and AFK, letting Jackie pick at the enemy's health bars. This was met with very limited success, as every time Jackie awoke, he was given a lecture on the 12-gauge commandments of a shotgun. Just as I was about to throw in the towel and call it, I mistakenly developed a 100% effective and viable method to success. Being Jackie's wrangler, I decided to let him off the leash and leave him on his own. You had to fiddle with it, but if done correctly, Jackie was able to use his 100 speech and charisma to convince these goons that it was just the wind dumping mags into them. For some reason, merely looking away from him made him invincible. His skin was apparently made of adamantium, and so was my erection. After waiting for what felt like 2 queens of England, I looted the enemy's Jackie.
2 queens of England? Yeah, that bitch did last forever. Holy fuck. We need to find out what she was on. What medical procedures did she go through to make it to the ripe old age that she did? Because it seems like she lived for fucking ever.
He killed, ran past the remaining surviving goons, and grabbed every possible item I could to dismantle it. I went from being an unarmed Japanese man to a now lethal Japanese man with the throwing knife skills of a 2009 Call of Duty montage YouTuber. The operation was a success, and this was a massive win. If this victory didn't chub you up, then I'm going to have to kindly ask you to leave, because that is just disrespectful. What should have been a 20-minute intro at maximum had taken me 3 hours, and although this...
I can believe that. I spent fucking 50... I had to have spent an hour. I had to have spent an hour running around in circles trying to beat it. I still can't think of the name. It starts with a C, I think. God, what is that thing called? It's the big robot that you fight at the beginning of Phantom Liberty. But it took me, like, I had to have taken me an hour of just running around in circles, dodging missiles and gunfire, throwing knives at its weak points until they blew up and quick hacking it into oblivion. Oh my god, I can only do 2 at a time because it had a resistance, I think. If I'm remembering that right, it had resistance.
This was progress. We still had a long way to go. Sandra was saved, the blood sacrifice to our machine overlord was irritatingly refused, and then I medicated myself and enjoyed the show as I watched these f***s achieve gold medals in the Darwin Awards. Jackie and I made it back safe, but before we continue, let me hit you with the hypothetical, because I need more money to commission some more Senza hentai. You've been dropped off after school in a PvP-enabled zone. Your wranglers are fighting again, and you just existing is an
Okay, this is just an ad, and I'm not gonna be your... I'm sorry, Senza. I'm sure you deserve it. I know you do. You're sellout Senza right now, but I am not going to be your vector to make more money.
And fortunately, Queso's Bakery was open for business.
The amount of people that will go to your channel who see my channel will make up for it. I promise.
Our bank accounts were soon to be inflated with as many doubloons as we could have ever possibly imagined. We were off to cut a deal with our favorite murder fleshlights, the Maelstrom. Jackie and I waltzed our way past the welcoming reception. I sat down with a bunch of chromosomally abnormal human beings, and if Dare taught me anything back in grade school, it was to always accept drugs from a stranger. To expedite the prologue, I originally considered going the Militech.
It's a cognitive booster that also dulls your senses so you don't feel pain. It's black market now, but used to be very, very useful in the Corpo War, I think is what the thing was. I haven't done too much looking into the lore reading. I just go through the world, and if I learn something new, I learn something new.
Route and paying for the Boston Dynamics bot with creds. But after spending a good amount of time with Royce and his harem of lobotomites, I concluded that this gang of mechanized turds were a cancer to this world and needed to be eradicated by a single butter knife. So I reloaded my previous save, and I may as well change my name to Gordon Ramsay because I stormed into here slicing and dicing these idiot sandwiches. All foods had now become Hell's Kitchen, and I was throwing my rock-hard meat up onto the table for a taste test. Tackling the first room made things very clear. If we wanted to clap Neanderthal cheeks effectively, we were going to have to mainly use this knife as a projectile. Thanks to the 2.0 update, you can now throw knives without a perk. Despite its lower damage, this thing absolutely f***s when thrown. For those that haven't run the throwing knife build before, after a knife is thrown, you can either pick it back up or wait out a small cooldown for it to return.
I usually wait out the small cooldown because going to go pick that bitch up while I have two of them is kind of dumb, and I'll just switch to the other one. Yeah, it's not worth going to go and get it. I just wait the small cooldown or switch to my other one and throw that one as well. And if I have time and I'm not being showered by a hailstorm of bullets, will I go and pick that bitch up?
Lead to some fucky moments if your aim is dog ass, but those can be alleviated thanks to the dash skill. With our skill acquired, Timu Majima had now reached critical mass and could no longer be stopped. We grabbed what we came here for, entered a room filled to the brim with Maelstrom, died 4 times. The said room was now filled to the brim with lifeless Maelstrom, put a knife-sized imprint into this guy's cerebellum, and then confronted Royce. I essentially brought a knife to $1 million murder robot fight, which was quite the lobotomizing experience.
I do have to say this, though. I did fight Royce. Holy shit, right. I did fight Royce with a throwing knife build, and yeah, that took a long time too. That took about an hour as well. I have a pretty good track record with beating bosses. It did take me 3 times though, because he kept hitting me with that mega piss laser.
But he was the final obstacle we had to clap before getting out of here. It didn't take much skill to defeat Royce. This fight was more about finding a pillar to hide behind and waiting for your throwing knife to come off cooldown. The humiliation Royce must have felt knowing that Diet Majima just destroyed his entire army of mechanized troglodytes with a single butter knife must have been burdening. But it probably didn't last long, because I slap-chopped his vital organs and walked out of all foods with a chicken dinner. From here, I met up with Evelyn and Judy. We wasted absolutely no time and immediately went into the nitty-gritty of our upcoming job.
I like how he downloaded a mod that makes them dance crazy at random moments, and he's just looking over like, the fuck? Okay.
Once everything was set in place, she asked us to double-cross Queso.
Or just looking over to the side. Yep. This is normal. Okay.
And instead work with her. But I let her know that doggy style is the only time I turn my back on the homies and went off on my way to meet up with Jackie. Queso let us know that he had one of the biggest heists in Night City history planned, and he wanted us two, the gentlemen with the combined IQ of a single piece of bread, to be the ones to see it through to fruition. I slotted in a few skill points. We used our disguises to just walk into Arasaka HQ, broke into the penthouse suite using the Boston Dynamics Chinese stealth robot, watched Yorinobu throat f his father, and then stole the fancy refrigerated limited edition
Throat fuck his father? What the fuck? He didn't even. He strangled him. What the fuck? That's the funniest way to put that.
Neuralink. I'm quite positive that if being mentally handicapped was a sport, then Jackie would be the LeBron of it. Because as you can see in this prime example, his mother most definitely was addicted to every hard drug available during pregnancy.
She drank paint. She 100% drank paint. But no, I like Mama Wells. She's cool.
But he had very little time to disrespect the dead, because Arasaka security had been alerted, and just like Team Rocket, we had to blast. This was where I realized that I turbo f***ed up and contemplated on giving up the run entirely. You see, it takes a special kind of goober to not plan ahead in a run like this, and I am that certified goober. At the beginning of this mission, all of your gear is removed from you, so that meant that I no longer had a knife. Now, you may be thinking, well, smegma, no problem, right? Just craft another, you buffoon. And to that, I'll let you know that you're absolutely right, except for the fact that I only had 6 crafting materials and completely forgot to stock up by dismantling a bunch of stuff before starting this mission. So I had 2 options here. Either reload a save about an hour and a half back, redoing everything and making sure to have the right amount of material, or endure the same cognitive behavioral therapy that I went through earlier. I'll be honest, I
like that it's, he mentioned it was cock and ball torture, and then he changed it to cognitive behavioral therapy, which still starts with the same 3 letters. CBT, which is cock and ball torture. It's still cock and ball torture.
Rather piss broken glass and start fights with the furry community on Discord, or endure the same cognitive behavioral therapy that I went through earlier. I'll be honest, I would rather piss broken glass and start fights with the furry community on Discord than deal with the latter once again. But as long as there is any sort of delusion, there is hope. Maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't take as long as it did the first time. So I figured I'd give it a shot, especially since trying would surely boost my internet social credit score with you sadistic viewers. Right off the bat, I attempted to pacifist run this escape. This idea immediately got shut down when I not only got creamed, just like the figurines you put in a jar do daily, but also when I discovered that the elevator needed a key that can only be obtained by executing this Arasaka guard. With that plan out of the question, our next method of attack was to become loot goblins and search every nook and cranny possible. Unfortunately, there quite just wasn't enough to craft the knife. With all avenues and options exhausted, it was time to fall back to plan C. So appropriately, I found the two very specific spots in this room where I could gaslight these underpaid minimum wage Arasaka employees that I wasn't here, and then played a game of hide and seek with them, letting Jackie go to town on an all-you-can-eat buffet. This plan sounded crazy, but after 2 hours of waiting, it actually worked. After Jackie was done making these Arasaka workers suck his bare asshole, we looted their bodies, and thanks to the other junk materials I had gathered earlier, I was free. I had just enough to craft another knife.
One knife, you have one knife, but suck his bare asshole. Yep, that would be about the case, the turn of events. But you only have one knife, so use it wisely.
I'm a gambling man, and it seemed that our gamble paid off. I thought the difficulty during the escape would surely provide a life-threatening stroke, but surprisingly, getting out of here only took around 3 tries. I even hung around in the lobby and took care of the Arasaka mech that gets airdropped in, which, by the way, finding its Critterus was difficult. Jackie and I escaped from Tarkov, Adam showed up to spank us, I technically failed the challenge after being forced to use the starting pistol to take out Arasaka's Kako demons, and then the Neuralink torch was passed on to me as Jackie passed into the afterlife. Queso was the exact opposite of
No! I'm reminded I lost Jackie. I keep losing Jackie. I can never keep him. It's not an option. I've tried. It doesn't exist. A world without Jackie is just inevitable. Like Thanos, it is inevitable. But yes, Queso, you fat betrayer bitch, you.
Pleased after finding out what happened during the heist. And if for some reason you ever questioned this man's sexuality, there is no need to, because without hesitation, he blew my brains out. Suddenly, we were in the memories of the infamous Johnny Silverhand, and quickly discovered that his pronouns were he/domestic fucking terrorist. At some point in the past, this angry gremlin stormed Arasaka HQ and blew it up, using a bomb from, a bomb factory. Brandishing a knife isn't possible during these flashbacks, so instead, we will strictly be using the Malorian's alt-fire to cyber-f*** any enemies that stood in our way. After dying more times than I'd like to admit, I woke up to the sight of Takamura dispatching the CEO of Burger King and was rescued from this trash heap. He was out here risking cock and limb to save me, and once I took out our aggressors, I was brought home for some medical assistance. I was thrown into a catatonic state after waking up to the sight of the ghosts of Johnny Silverhand busting it down like he just cranked 90s on a lobby full of diaper-wearing baby men. But I ignored it, blamed it on the bullet that
the things that the modding community can make are so incredibly creative for this.
To the sight of the ghosts of Johnny Silverhand busting it down like he just cranked 90s on a lobby full of diaper-wearing baby men. But I ignored it, blamed it on the bullet that pierced my frontal lobe earlier, and went on my way to meet with Takamura, the unnamed benefactor that saved my life. At the local diner, we found out that Takamura's name was Takamura, and he was the personal bodyguard of the lunatic that—
Really? didn't know it.
Was responsible for one too many war crimes. He wanted to dispense justice upon that ungrateful stinker of a son that killed his sensei. And the simple fact that I was there during the assassination made Takamura want to become my best friend. He hit me with the very inspirational, "You must do what is right, and it is better to come in the sink than sink in the cum." Typical hoopla.
Well, if those are my two choices, I would rather come in the sink. If those are my two choices, I would rather just come in the sink. I would rather not sink in the cum. She, oh no, there's another one doing dances.
And then left. With essentially the glorified tutorial done, we could now go ahead and meet with Evelyn to figure out what to do with this Neuralink in my head. The city Latina let us know that Evelyn had been missing ever since the heist, and her last known location was at the futuristic brothel known as Clouds. This city was devoid of any authority, and at this very well-respected establishment, everyone is allowed in as long as you have a functioning brain. No background checks or venereal disease tests were needed. But we didn't come here for pleasure. The cum and sweat here in this brothel had soaked so deeply into the walls and bed sheets that not even Mr. Clean himself could get it out. So rather than calling clean...
Ew. Oh, and those are sex toys.
To take care of this unspeakable mess, I was here with an alternative solution, one that involved any means possible to save our friend, Evelyn. I made sure to come prepared this time around. The loyal patrons of this establishment didn't seem to agree with my methods, and one of them even developed a neuromuscular disorder from the sheer shock of all that transpired. But this was where I began my janitorial duties and started cleaning the place up by murdering the 20 or so odd thugs that were littered here. It didn't take long before I learned that it was better to f**k these cyber psychos than to be f**ked by the cyber psychos, because the actual antagonist of this area was this ultra buffoon here.
Yeah, I had to fight this fucker, dude. It was so annoying. I was using my quick axe and everything to try to fuck this dude up, but it's like nothing worked. Like, blinding him did nothing. I couldn't approach him. Throwing knives, he would always dodge. And even if he was blinded, he would still dodge the throwing knives somehow. I'm like, how the fuck are you doing this? You're blind. I fucked your eyes up. Act like I fucked your eyes up. I spent a good 20 minutes just fighting that dude.
He had access to Sandevistan, which meant that he could dodge my throwing knives. Giving yourself an enema with a hand grenade would probably be more effective and faster than trying to kill this man with a throwing knife. For science, I even compromised my very own morals and used the blinding cyber hack on him. Logically speaking, if the man can't see, he shouldn't be able to dodge. But apparently, bro was Doctor Strange and was able to use the Eye of Agamotto to see every single multiverse and outcome. I needed to learn the basics of close quarters combat if I wanted to topple this metaphorical mountain. So I completely ignored him, bunkered down in a corner picking off his comrades, hid behind this wall listening for a reload, and then dashed in for a few shanks before dashing away to safety. This wasn't necessarily the best and most optimal strategy, but it was the only one that I could think of that didn't involve me pissing and shitting in my diapers, so we take those. I caught Woodman with his pants around his ankles while he was widwowy hitting the gwitty, shook him down for his...
Wait, what? What did he say?
His pants around his ankles while he was widwowy hitting the gwitty, shook him down for his lunch money, discovered that scumfuck sold off Evelyn, and then murdered another 10 goons on my way out of here, dying only once. Courtesy of the experimental Neuralink that we put into our heads earlier, Johnny Silverhand's ghost had returned. Timu Majima now had a serious case of schizophrenia, which honestly probably is a fate that isn't too far off from the actual Majima.
You know what? Actually, yeah, because I don't know how I would feel if at any moment my ops just started emoting on me at every possible fucking moment. Like that shit, like, no. I don't know how I'd feel. I feel like I'd get pissed off way easier if that happened.
We needed to find Evelyn quickly because Johnny's lethal levels of brain rot was edging our oncoming aneurysm. I don't know if it was the fact that the game was scaling with my level, but having no armor on this difficulty was really starting to become a problem. Outside of Finger's clinic, I died a good 9 times, and with the damage these fuckers were putting out, we may as well call my health bar Dad, the way it was quickly disappearing. Judy and I confronted the personification of rotten foreskin cheese on the whereabouts of Evelyn. We pinpointed her location and then introduced these lowlifes to the concept of mutilation by butter knife. Clearly, these scum have never traveled to London and learned proper street etiquette because they didn't survive for all of 3 seconds before receiving a knife in their jugular. Judy joined me down in the darkest dungeon to assist in this spanking. Our enemies should be terrified because the only thing that is scarier than an angry Latina is an angry Latina with a pistol. After a few...
You know what? Truer words have never been spoken. And you know what? That's true. There's nothing, the only thing scarier than an angry Latina is an angry Latina with a pistol. Yeah, true words.
Deaths, thanks to my aim being absolute giga ass, we finally made it to the boiler room. On paper, this part should have been difficult, and I did end up dying a few times. But thanks to either our enemies being retarded or a flaw in their AI, they seemed to not know how to open a normal door. Using this knowledge, I was able to slap away at their health bars, brandishing this door as my shield to protect me from the hurricane of...
Now, I didn't do this. I just quick hacked a lot of these people, honestly, because I used the cameras to take out the most powerful dudes, and rushed in and started throwing my knives at people.
Of lead they sent my way. Finally, we got to Evelyn, but it was too late. The Fortnite brain rot virus had already taken over. She was now just a lifeless husk, perpetually hitting a Fortnite emote. This was so sad. Can we get 4,000 likes for our girl Evelyn?
Oh no! The Fortnite brain rot! The worst kind, clearly the worst kind. Can we please, we gotta stop Fortnite. It's so overdone.
Thanks to Judy and the Jimmy Neutron brain blasts that she had, we were able to get some info on the Neuralink. It turns out originally Evelyn was contacted by the Voodoo Boys to find this bad boy, so that meant that we would soon need to have a meeting with them. In the meantime, we made our way to catch up with probably the least autistic person in Night City, Takamura. He let me know that he would rather be thrown into a wood chipper dick and balls first than let Yorinobu get away with his crimes, and asked me to aid him on his quest of revenge. I agreed, but let him know that I still had a date with the Voodoo Boys over in Pacifica, and quickly skedaddled over to them. I can confidently say that Pacifica had a little bit of everything for everyone. I witnessed Aunt Jemima hitting the Gangnam Style, held hands with Placide, got my pussy meat tenderized by a bunch of testosterone gremlins, and then experienced the tender joys of consumerism down at the local mall. The animals and the Voodoo Boys were in a power struggle over Pacifica, and it was my job to help alleviate this chokehold. I used the front entrance of the mall to enter this zoo and then immediately realized that this was a terrible idea unless I wanted to be folded into a fucking murder pastry. These animals were incredibly aggressive.
Bro got folded like an omelet. Why would you attack the front? There's like 30 fucking people in there. You want them all coming to the front entrance? Are you retarded?
And subsisted on a diet of trenbolone and rusty nails. Being in a den of these roid-fueled behemoths increased my odds of experiencing testicular torsion by a whopping 98%. So in order to survive in this hostile environment, I had to rely on my dash skill to assert dominance and become an apex predator. This cortisol generator of emission had me by the scrotum and fulfilled my addiction to suffering quite well. Following around an hour or so, the mall was now depopulated thanks to our butter knife. I had effectively turned a mall of about 80 animals into a mall of about 80 PETA complaints, meaning that I can now take a stroll through...
Brother, that's actually pretty fucking funny. PETA complaints. Yeah, I feel like I would have made that joke if I was a little bit smarter.
The mall without getting my testicles stepped on by 7 different roid-fueled psychopaths. During my stroll, it turns out that there was apparently a single animal left. Their leader, Sasquatch. Now typically, I would be okay with the muscle mommy stepping on me, but after being here for an hour and a half, I wanted the f*** out. The only thing worse than a woman named...
Yep. Typically after an hour, or in my case, like 10 minutes, I want out. I want out. I'm tapping, boss.
Sasquatch is a woman named Sasquatch perpetually skull f***ing me with a strap-on, especially when that strap-on has the hitbox the size of an elephant, aka your mother, and took out around a third of my health bar every swing. But as luck would have it, you can actually make this fight manageable by simply abusing the fact that these roid gremlins never do cardio, allowing you to dash over to her hammer and pick it up before she could get to it. With her metaphorical strap-on now in your inventory, she is essentially useless, and after taking out her...
I didn't even fight her, to be honest. Instead of putting myself through that kind of shit, what I did was oh yeah, no, I'm not going to tell you guys. Okay, you know what? You need to watch my most recent episode of Cyberpunk if you want to see what I did. I had a very creative way to do this.
Her back battery, victory should be yours as long as you have enough brain cells to dodge every 1 in 3 attacks. I returned to the Voodoo Boys to accept payment in the form of info. Brigitte let me know that she could help me get in touch with an entity named Alt Cunningham, and after following her down into the crypt, I hopped into a bathtub presumably to make Majima flavored bath water, and the next thing you know, I was back inside Johnny Silverhand's memories, and Johnny was inside Alt. To keep things brief, Arasaka kidnapped Johnny's lover, Alt Cunningham, to have her assist in essentially the creation of immortality. It turns out that Johnny isn't that bad of a guy. The bombing he did at the beginning of our story was solely because they took his girl, which is the average male crash out here in Night City. I returned back to the land of the living, and for once I considered sparing the Voodoo Boys, as historically I have murdered them in every single challenge run so far. That route would result in 100% less dick flattening than the violence-filled one. But before I could even think, my reflexes ignored the diplomacy option, because this wouldn't be a Senza video if I wasn't out here CBT maxing for your viewing pleasure. Using the same tactic I gathered in my starting gear only run, I was able to clean sweep this first part of the crypt rather easily.
You know what? I'm gonna have to watch that episode too. Not in this video, but I will watch it in a future video. So get ready for more of this guy, because I actually like this guy.
Riding off of the high that was victory and blood rushing to my collective sex organs, I stormed into the gulag with Placide and was quickly punished for my hubris. Placide brandished a shotgun, which meant that getting close to him would be a problem. On top of that, he could also dodge an incoming...
That would actually be the worst kind of problem. You have to be up close to do anything with a knife unless you're going to throw it. And up close is exactly where he needs you to be.
Throwing knife, just like the Psycho could in Clouds. So I locked the f*** in and pretty much became the Daredevil, using Echo translocation to my advantage. Within a single try, I found out that Placide fired 6 shells from his shotgun before having to reload. I hid behind this very door and safely baited him into shooting me. Once I heard that 6th shell go off, that was my opening to dash in and shank him before dashing away. This method was successful, but came at the cost of around 20 minutes of my day, because this knife did diddly tits for damage. Placide's fight was over, but it certainly made me shit and piss my pants a little, thinking about the upcoming fight with Oda. But that was a problem future Senza was going to have to deal with, because first we had to visit Johnny's old crewmate, Rogue. Considering that Rogue really likes money, I saved this questline for a little later, just to be sure I had enough shekels to pay for her intel. I needed to have a chat with one of the lead engineers of the malignant brain tumor that was occupying my head, and Rogue pointed me in the direction of someone that could get me to him. That someone was a woman, and Rogue warned me that I was first going to have to listen to her needs before getting any assistance with mine. Listen to a woman? I would never do something that... The desert Latina needed our help retrieving her stolen property.
Yeah. See, Everybody says that, and then they meet Pan Am.
And as her tier 3 Twitch subscriber, I offered my life and my hand to make sure that she was happy. She set up the trap, and someone better call Scooby-Doo because I was an absolute monster with this knife. I thought that surviving the shitstorm that is AI grenade spam was going to make this mission impossible, seeing as I didn't have a weapon to shoot them out of the air. But after trying for a bit, it became apparent that the dash skill and being aggressive as possible was the way. I enjoyed being passenger princess for all of but 2 minutes before Pan Am revealed that she was secretly a sadomasochist and brought us down to the dungeons where we were assaulted by a bunch of trigger-happy freaks. I'll tell you now that there wasn't much of an asshole left.
I did this with two blue knives. I had 2 of those little daggers. No, I had the one from Saburo when we did the heist. I was still rocking that one. I had a green knife that I crafted, and I had a tier 2 legend or iconic sword. So, and I never used that sword. I already had the mantis blades installed because I got those pretty early. I got those as early as I could. But yeah, no. Doing this was a literal pain in the ass. The sniper does so much damage, and there's several of them here, including the boss, which also uses the fucking Black Widow. So that's already annoying enough. I died twice doing this on hard difficulty.
After these goons were done with me. Without armor, hacks, or Sandevistan, it was quite literally impossible to survive down here in the dungeons without hiding behind some sort of cover. It also didn't help that Pan Am and Cyberpunk were working
like it is for every soldier ever in every conflict
against me via the means of petty distractions, aka occasionally showing me cake while I was focusing in battle. I spent 2 hours here in this war zone, dealing with a cyber hack that was capable of one-shotting me, grenade tosses that apparently came from the arm of a Major League Baseball player, and hard-scoping camping snipers sitting at the back of the map. If you ever wanted to artificially drive a human into complete psychosis and mental deterioration, this specific part of the challenge was your best bet. I had accumulated a very impressive 28 deaths out here in this hostile environment, but
now, I had my quick hacks to help me during this whole encounter. So it wasn't so bad for me, but he forbade himself from using quick hacks because that's not how Majima would have done it, because Majima did not have cyberware to do that. So I did it a little bit easier, and I didn't use a common rarity. I used tier 3 and a tier 2 to do this. So I was in slightly better standing than him.
After a brief spout of hope that came from a pretty nasty cross-map throwing knife, I focused up, found a cheeky little method to avoid Nash's one-shot weapon, and eventually sent all of these poor beings to the forever box. Not long after that BDSM torture dungeon experience, Pan Am agreed to finally help in finding that engineer. Being the girl boss that she was, she completely dialed in and made it her personal goal to locate the Militech transport and sniff their farts. Here I was, diagnosed with the terminal case of death thanks to Kang Tao and their advancements in military technology. Whether it was one of those pesky micro-missiles that one-shot me with my low armor, or their foot soldiers, I was not having fun, to say the least. We had to make every stroke count.
Now this one didn't hurt me as badly. I was able to do this pretty easily because throwing knives at this point were just second nature to me. And I could stay silent, because they never really found me.
So I took out a few soldiers, summoned my mount, did absolutely nothing with it, dashed to the other side of the crash site, and then began throwing away until the threats were dealt with. Our target wasn't at the crash site, but at least Mitch was happy that we came to the rescue. Scorpion, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. His reboot card was nowhere to be found. We rode our way into the sunset towards the Kangtao-occupied gas station, and to my surprise, taking them out wasn't too difficult. I completely expected to get obliterated out here in these trenches, but my throwing knife build was coming together quite nicely. The Scorpion Sting perk was putting in some serious work paired with my insane mobility. It almost felt like these crusted little cum socks didn't even stand a chance. The man who looks like he sees—
That one took me 2 times to beat. Because those snipers really knew how to wreck my shit. And I figured out very quickly that I had to deal with them first. Because holy shit, no way was I going to do that with them active.
secretly exchanges handjobs in a back alley for Taco Bell gift cards was successfully kidnapped. He let me know that I was double turbo mega thanks to the Neuralink, and then emoted on me, which was not only disrespectful, but also probably a hate crime.
That is a hate crime. Holy fuck. You telling me I'm gonna die and you're gonna emote on me?
He let me know that I was double turbo mega thanks to the Neuralink, and then emoted on me, which was not only disrespectful, but also probably a hate crime. I took my leave and mentally prepared myself for the challenge ahead, because there was a 60% chance that I was 100% going to hate my life during this Takamura quest arc. But it was finally time to face my demons. I met with Takamura, he let me know his rage couldn't be contained, and then told me to grab some hemorrhoid cream for the path ahead. I mistakenly told him that I wasn't going to join him for the reconnaissance of the Arasaka compound, which meant that I had some time to kill before I could continue the main storyline. So it was only natural that I got up to some mischief. In Yakuza 7, you can embark on a quest line where you have to fill out a Pokédex of known mentally unhinged freaks and sex offenders. In Cyberpunk, you can pretty much do the same, except they are unmedicated psychopathic killers that have so much chrome in them that they are basically no longer human. While I waited for Takamura to reach back to us,
I still haven't watched Edge Runners yet, and I need to. I know it takes place before the events of this game. So slightly after the events of David and Rebecca. Oh god, I'm just not ready to see them all die. I know that's going to happen too. God, because I keep seeing clips and I'm like, I don't want to see them die. And Rebecca is best girl. Rebecca is 100% in that specific anime. Rebecca is best girl. So respectful. In the right ways. She's not respectful to everybody. Let's be clear. That's not her style. But she's respectful in the right ways. If you know, you know.
To test my newfound power on one of these chrome goblins. So I drove to the nearest Cyber Psycho's location, entered its hideout, and then immediately regretted entering its hideout. My excursion was coincidentally just the right amount of time I needed, and although that Cyber Psycho's ass was begging for a clapping, I figured I'd let him off easy, as I had other matters to attend to. Here at Arasaka Industrial, we were to sneak in and hack the exact parade float Hanako, Yorinobu's sister, was going to be on. The heist was to be rather easy and stress-free. There was nothing more simple than taking on a platoon of heavily armed soldiers with only a knife. I broke into the compound and began murdering these poor overworked minimum wage employees. Technically, I was doing Arasaka a favor because there were quite a few of them that weren't hitting their productivity quotas. I quickly developed a strategy, utilizing this building here and the underground Diddy tunnels to take out this army.
No, not the Diddy tunnels. Oh god, no, not the Diddy tunnels. That's so fucked up. So fucked up.
One soldier at a time, I memorized the layout of this area and became an absolute boogeyman to these unfortunate souls. I spent around 40 minutes playing with my food and then took out the Arasaka mech thanks to this devious pixel peek that I found here. Inside the actual compound, Takamura once again left me to take on my enemies alone, leaving all of the ass f***ing strictly to me, which honestly wasn't very honorable of him. Arguably, this part was easier than the outside, as our enemies were spread out and we were surrounded by tons of cover. I gaslit a few enemies into thinking that I didn't just kill all of their friends, made it to Hanako's parade float, planted a listening device into its foreskin, and then got out of there before more reinforcements were to show up. That was the final quest before we could finally see if all of the work I put into this challenge run would go to waste. In my previous challenges, Oda's girth was quite impressive. Without a scapegoat like Hax or Sandevistan, I wasn't sure if my knife and dodges would be enough. But it was time to finally figure that one out and either emerge victorious with the gaping asshole or crying and sobbing like a little bitch.
But he has
the Macy's Day Arasaka parade started, and just the intro to this mission triggered a Winter Soldier response in me. Except for when I fumbled the butt plug here at the beginning. We aren't going to talk about that. Just to avoid any illusion of...
Listen. I don't know what it is about that fucking billboard. I don't know what it is about that fucking billboard. It has the biggest, weirdest hitbox. You have to, like, you can't just peek from behind the corner and shoot him or take a throwing knife and hit him with it. Because it will hit the billboard's hitbox. You have to be damn near in his line of sight if he were to look over at you to be able to shoot him or hit him with any kind of accuracy. Because otherwise you'll just hit the billboard, and it's so fucking retarded. I know exactly what he's talking about. That first sniper is always a bitch to hit, and it's such a beginner's trap.
Difficulty. As long as you're able to fire up at least 20% of your neurons, you shouldn't have a problem here, because putting perks into the throwing knife tree essentially turns the throwing knife into an ICBM. Even on the hardest difficulty, your enemy's health bars will explode as long as you hit your headshots. After I was done showing these goofy gooners that their asses were no longer Arasaka property, but in fact belonged to me, I only died once on my journey to the Arasaka Netrunner, and as I was about to put her out of her suffering, Oda showed up, threatening to deliver my ass an oriental pounding that rivaled that of gas station Chinese restaurant takeout. My first try against this beast went about as well as I expected it to. He dropped his meat into me like a shopping cart, and I only did 3% damage to his health bar. My second try, though, was monumental. Thanks to the dash skill, I was able to loop Oda around without taking much damage, and even fit in a cheeky little critical strike, chunking him down quite a bit of health. This was it. Killing Oda was actually possible. I had never been more erect in my entire life.
Taking notes. Use the dash skill more. I don't use that at, like, I literally use that 0% of the time. So learning to use that is going to be quite the stretch. Especially since I'm about to fight Oda in my knife-only run.
Despite the fact that I did very little damage and his hitbox was jank as I continued to do more looping than a survivor main on Dead by Daylight, hitting in knife throws whenever possible and hiding from his barrage of smart pistol shots. I made sure to pay close attention whenever he decided to run off and pop a hyper potion, received head for being such a caring individual, and then continued looping until I was able to kill him. This process took me around 27 minutes, but it was finally done. Minutes after killing him, I was still having convulsions. I had finally discovered how to orgasm multiple times after being edged during that 27-minute long gooning session. But our work here wasn't done. Takamura kidnapped Hanako, and I made my escape to meet up with the both of them. As it would appear, Yorinobu was not okay with us kidnapping his sister, meaning that our plan had now developed a mild case of the hiccups. I had the option to simply blast out of this dilapidated building, but like I
at this point you get a case of the fuck arounds.
Said earlier, I never turned my back on the homies, and I wasn't going to leave without Takamura. Arasaka decided to send their elites in on this operation, and they were pretty much looking for any excuse to kill anything and everyone. At this point, I was about 26 hours in on this challenge run, and there was no amount of therapy or substance that would make dealing with their ability to one-shot me worth it. So I adopted a new fighting style known as being an absolute bitch, and abused the fact that these cheeked up elites couldn't get to me through this crouch hole here. Favorably, I was able to queef out a little dub thanks to this tactic, and Takamura was saved. We escaped holding hands, brought 5 big booms to these henchmen and their brains, and then met with Hanako's messenger, who let us know she wanted put us on her side. So I let her know that my horoscope said to voluntarily castrate myself using sulfuric acid if I decided to betray
Please, oh God. That was so unexpected. I'm not going back to verify if I saw what I just saw. Just know... Ow. I got something in that eye. Just know I'm not going back. And I'm not checking
Johnny and help Arasaka. So I chose Johnny as my romance option, and after consulting with him, he insisted that I bring Rogue along for the finale. Before we could actually do Johnny's ending, we first had to take out some trash and figure out where Atom Smasher was located. I was finally going to receive some backup on this mission this time around, and fortunately, my survival was only possible thanks to Rogue. Not because she brought respectable firepower, but because apparently the Maelstrom enjoyed beating women. Once they had her in their sights, they immediately started foaming from the mouth, and in a testosterone-fueled rage, went out of their way to beat her ass. With the enemies distracted, I wailed away at them.
Just went out of their way to beat her ass. It's just immediately sees woman, beeline, throw them hands.
Until they were no more, and quite effectively assaulted the rest of the mechanophiliacs that called this place home. On the Ebunike, I entered the gladiator arena and finally faced an enemy that gave me a run for my shekels. I thought about spending time genital jousting with this cyber psycho, but figured there was no point when I could just simply walk past him to my objective and avoid the fight entirely. To no one's surprise, these nefarious bitches were up to no good, and once we were able to extort some info out of Adam's buddy here, it was finally time for Rogue and Johnny to raid Arasaka HQ, once again, for old time's sake. Majima said goodbye to his friends, Johnny let us know that he wanted to pilot the Titan, and then we boarded the battle bus one last time, in the name of justice. We were an army of 3, Rogue, I, and our pilot, that had the mental capacity of a toilet paper roll. But that wasn't going to stop us from bringing the fight to this billion-dollar corporation. Before the Arasaka higher-ups could let Yorinobu know that a second Johnny had hit the Arasaka building, we began storming the lobby. After a good pull, thanks to once again every Night City resident's favorite pastime activity, that is beating women, I was able to cream every...
Why does everybody just want to beat Rogue's ass, man? And like... Everybody has wanted to beat this woman's ass for no other reason than her simply existing in this space. Shit, maybe I should go in with Rogue. She's a great bullet sponge.
Everyone that was in our path. Arasaka really needed to up their defense and security budget because this was the 3rd time in a row a quirked up white boy with self-diagnosed autism was capable of taking on their entire army. There wasn't much that went down during the rest of this tiny Tina's assault on Dragon Keep. Although I did witness a betrayal up here in the Millennium Tower, and I could confidently say that I am now a supporter of Arasaka on Arasaka violence. As we approached Mikoshi, it turns out our girl Rogue was girl bossing her way too close to the sun, and in a final f*** you, blew her load all over Adam. This was absolutely tragic, but there was no time to whip our dicks out and spam our Fs in chat, because it was finally time to see if we could kill God with a butter knife. Atom Smasher was a top-of-the-line cyborg menace that could crush any being with just the sheer weight of a single ass cheek. But that wasn't enough.
Oh no! No. That hurts. Again, Rebecca. F's in the chat for Rebecca.
To take on the Mad Dog Majima. I truly thought that Adam was going to be a gargantuan problem for this run, but I couldn't be more wrong. He was only a problem for poor Wayland here, because he had an abnormal obsession with using a barrage of micromissiles to rupture his colon. Adam literally couldn't f his ass any harder even if he had 2 dicks. Once again, the forbidden jutsu that is Dead by Daylight looping and the dash skill is what carried me. I'm proud to announce that it only took me a single try to take Adam down, and I barely had to break a sweat. Even though Rogue and her extremist beliefs net you a freebie 20% damage on Adam, slicing through the other 80% of his health bar took me literally 44 minutes. And even after all that time, I still don't know where his crit spot is. My frontal lobe began to deteriorate from the repetitive gameplay, but in due time, Atom Smasher was smashed. Wayland did the only rational thing he could. Majima entered Mikoshi. With the help of Volt, we were saved. And then Majima decided it was time to head to Hawaii to go be a pirate or something. You can beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only a common rarity knife. If you made it to the end of the video, comment hashtag Critterus so I can heart your comment and we can confuse new viewers. I appreciate.
That's funny to confuse the new viewers, but yeah, this guy is incredible. I love his style of video. As you can see, I've already subscribed. Words are hard. Subscribed to him so I can see when he's posted new videos. This one was 7 months ago, so this one's a pretty old video. I will do the starting gear next time. But yeah, I had to get this video up and out because this guy is hilarious and he deserves the recognition. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, I am affiliated with Poggers, so go to poggers.shop. Get whatever you want. You got to get there early because they do run out fast. Get yourself one of the new metal shaker cups. Use code RAVEN12 and get 10% off your order. You know, everybody wins in this situation. You get something to drink, and you get money off. And I get a little bit of a kickback, so, you know. Think about your boy. Anyway, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.